This is the Rear Naked Chicks podcast.
Hey guys, it's the Rear Naked Chicks podcast. I know it's been a while, but figured I'm busy. I don't really have anything to say a lot of the time because I'm just living my life and not really getting involved in too much. But every once in a while, something crazy happens in the jiu-jitsu community, and I feel like I want to keep on saying stuff as long as there's something to say. So, not too long ago, Jasmine Walt, who is a jiu-jitsu blue belt and an author, posted a story on Instagram about how she was kicked out of her gym for trying to address a sexual harassment situation that was happening. And it really kickstarted this conversation again. And so I wanted to invite her on the podcast so that we could talk about jujitsu culture, about how, basically victims get blamed for the sorts of inappropriate things that happen when um, a lower belt is attacked or in some way harassed by an upper belt or an owner or a coach, and just kind of the culture in general. So I'm really glad she agreed to come on and that I could put a podcast out for you guys because I know it's been a while. And so, yeah, let's get to Jasmine. So I am here with Jasmine Walt. You might know her from recent Jiu-Jitsu world controversy, though it probably shouldn't be controversial. I'm very excited to have her on the podcast because we need to talk about this. Jasmine, welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you for coming on. I was wondering if you would just give the audience like a quick rundown of your story so people who don't know who you are can get a little background.
Okay, so yeah, I'm Jasmine. I'm a fantasy author, but I've been training jiu-jitsu for about 2.5 years. I started at Legacy Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in Burbank back in like 2020, like right in the middle of the pandemic, and I trained there for most of my jiu-jitsu career. And a couple months ago, basically what this whole thing was about is a couple months ago, a brown belt that went to the same gym that I went to, he sexually harassed / assaulted me. He put his mouth on me on the mat, and it was pretty icky. And I tried to like kind of handle that with him. I tried going to the gym about it. I like wasn't basically, long story short, it wasn't really handled to my satisfaction. He never like apologized to me properly, or and the gym didn't really handle the situation in what I thought was a satisfactory manner. And after the third time of bringing it up, the gym owner ended up kicking me out. And no action really ended up being taken against the guy. So I decided to go on Instagram and just kind of tell everybody about it because I wasn't getting any justice at the gym. So I thought maybe, community justice might be an option. And here we are now.
So were you surprised by the way people reacted to it? Were you expecting backlash, or like how did you go into it and what ended up happening?
I didn't really know what to expect. Like, I've never done anything like this before. When it happened, like, I was shocked that that was like the response. I thought that I might have to leave, but I never thought they would actually kick me out. And then when I posted that video, it was like, I really just wanted everyone at the gym to know. And like, if other people knew, like, in LA or around the world or whatever, like, that's cool too. And maybe like, yeah, I didn't really expect it to blow up and be like a huge viral thing. I just didn't want to go quietly, like I wanted everyone at the gym to know exactly why I wasn't there anymore.
Did you feel like the response was more supportive or antagonistic towards you in general?
Well, so it's funny because like, I feel like I got a lot of positive response from people outside the gym and a lot of negative response from people inside the gym. And that's like, I guess it's not weird looking back on it because the people who are not at the gym aren't like emotionally attached to the gym in any way, So of course, like they're going to be like, oh yeah, that's fucked up. Like, wow, we support you. But then within the gym, it's like, I got a lot of either like straight up silence, like people, like most people didn't say anything, and most of these people still follow me to this day, which I find really weird. Like I find it really weird that, but people who like have not said a single thing to me about this. They still follow me and they still watch all my stories. I find it really weird that people who have outright spoken, like supported the people who are like basically trying to discredit me and make me like sound like I'm some weird, crazy person, they still follow me. And even people who unfollowed me, they still check in and they follow me. So like, I don't know, like it's weird. It's almost creepy in a way. Like in some ways I'm trying to move on, but in other ways, like I feel like other people haven't really moved on. And obviously I haven't fully moved on because I'm on this podcast, but like.
Well, to be fair, we would have done this sooner, but you were traveling and then I was traveling.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. It's uncomfortable, honestly, because like I really had hoped that people at the gym would like see what happened and see that I tried to do the right thing and that there's like a problem in the community that needs to be solved. Because like the thing that people love about Legacy, the thing that I loved about Legacy was the community. Like it's a big family gym. Like we did a lot of stuff together. We would, do lots of UFC nights, like, bonfires, parties, like just a lot of community activities, and then competitions, whatever. It's a big family group, and that's what everyone loves about that gym. So but there's a part of it that's kind of a lie, right?
Oh, it's just that one particular type of family where we don't talk about our creepy uncle.
Right.
And if you happen to bring it up with your parents, they're going to tell you that you misunderstood or that we just have to look past it. And if you try and stand up to it, you're going to be the one ostracized from the family.
Right. And there's more than one creepy uncle. And it's just like just happened to have the one that I ran into. And what's weird about it is that like Rhett, the guy who, did this to me, he's not even like anyone all that special. Like he's not a coach there. He's not like he doesn't work there. Like it's weird to me that like this was the decision, honestly. Like I know he's a brown belt for sure, but like in the end, like he's a paying student, I'm a paying student. He just happens to have been there longer and is better friends with the people than I am.
After speaking out, did you get a lot of feedback about the fact that it is pretty abnormal for anyone, but particularly a woman, to like speak up when something like this happens in jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, I got lots and lots, like probably close to 100 DMs from women who have gone through similar things. Most of them like worse than mine. Like a lot of these women have been straight up like almost raped or have been raped, and like just crazy stories. And these women were all like, thank you for saying something. Like I wish I'd been brave enough to say something. And I meant to do something about that. I've wanted to like showcase a lot of these stories anonymously, and I think I still will. I'm just kind of in this weird twilight zone where I'm trying to handle my own shit, but I still want to keep talking about this. But at the same time, I don't know. It's like I didn't want this to be my life,
Oh, I feel like uniquely I understand that position.
Yeah.
That's how this podcast kind of became what it was, because when we did Maggie's story, it was overwhelming, the number of people who came to us saying like, this happened to me. And unfortunately, a number of those people were people in our like direct community who had been affected by like individuals that we knew. So, it's crazy though, because even when you think the people involved want to stand up to it, or even the people who support you, like, did anybody actually support you publicly at your gym?
Oh no, definitely not. Like
surprised.
even the ones who like, there are a few people who reached out to me and told me they left.
Oh,
And so like that was cool. Interestingly enough, like a lot of the people who did like reach out to me are not people that I considered myself particularly close to. And then all the people who I was particularly close to, like none of those people left. Like I had to say goodbye to a fair number of my friends, like friends who like said it was wrong and said they knew it was fucked up, like, but they still continue to go there, right? Like they still continue to, support them financially and continue to train there. Like I had a friend who was like, well, you should like, he was like even giving me advice on what he thought I should do. And then like a couple weeks later, like I see him like at the gym, like posting stuff in his stories. And I'm like, what? I'm like, why? And he's like, well, I've been there for a long time. And, well, I go at night and like, that guy comes during the day. And I'm like, And I'm like, but the gym owner like owns the whole thing, and he's the one who kicked me out. Like, you can't, like, how can you separate it? So many of these people think that they can just separate it, and I'm just like, I don't think you can.
I think it really comes down to a level of integrity that a lot of people believe they have until it's time to actually put it to the test. And yeah, it's unfortunate to find out like the percentage of people unwilling to support the things that they say they believe in with their actions. But
Yeah, it's almost no one. Like, it's almost no one. And a lot of these people like have daughters and families, and like they're like, I just don't want to be involved in any drama. And I'm just like, well, I mean, that's fine. Like, no one wants to be involved in drama, but like,
no
if
one's
I had
framing
got
it as I prefer to support predators or people who protect predators. Nobody's going to say it like the way
no,
that
you
it
say
is.
it that way, but it's not even that. Like one example is Professor Uday, who trains there, and like I never spoke to him directly about this, but another friend of mine did, and he was totally like, yeah, like I just don't want to get involved in the drama. And he has two daughters. He teaches the Nogi class there, and I'm just like, okay, so you don't want to get involved in the drama, but this is the world that like you're creating for your daughters, right? Like they train at the gym, like they're little girls. I think they go to like the tiny cranes class or whatever. And like this is the environment that you are creating for your kids by continuing to like support this gym. And like I don't know how people don't see that, but like they do. Like they're just like, well, I don't want to be involved. They're like, sorry, like you're involved.
I think that saying that you don't want to be involved is like a really convenient way to get yourself a pass or get off the hook for having to actually stand up for something. And when, I don't know, the thing about jujitsu is it's this bizarre community that behaves like a family in ways, but really it's more of a cult. Like the leadership dictates the behavior of everyone underneath, and when somebody sees something wrong with that, it's like you're going against the entire religion to say like, I don't think we should let sexual assault happen on the mats, or like, well, how can you call it sexual assault and I'm not getting involved? And if you say that, like it's just a wild world of conflating all these different issues and then saying like, yeah, I'm not involved in this drama. So
Yeah, and it's weird. And by the way, I'm not trying to call out like every single person at Legacy. I mentioned Uday specifically because he does private lessons with the guy who sexually assaulted me. So it seems particularly strange for him to be like, I don't want to be in any drama and I don't want to get involved. Well, it's like,
and
it
if
was kind of one of your students.
some other gym that they heard this about, very likely they would support you in your whole
Absolutely.
mission.
Actually what was funny is like, Anthony Cruz, almost everyone on Instagram knows him. He's like huge and he does all these skits for jiu-jitsu and da-da-da. And I remember when this went down, somebody DM'd me and was like, you should tell Anthony about this because Anthony loves to, like, he speaks up when women have been sexually assaulted and this and that. And I'm like, Anthony is a professor at the gym. And no, he didn't say anything. He didn't address it at all. And I didn't really expect him to, by the way, but like, it's funny to me because yeah, literally, like, I think he has highlighted and showcased things like this on his Instagram, but like, not in my case because he teaches there.
Well, I think that what you did is part of what needs to happen more and more. And honestly, like you probably didn't know how brave it was when you did it because you probably did not expect the world to react so horribly. I'm just assuming, but I do think that the more women who step forward and say these things and continue to show up and tell the world like this didn't ruin me, right? Like I spoke out, I left my gym and I'm still here and like it was stressful or whatever, but like these guys didn't ruin my life. These stupid cease and desist letters are not real legal proceedings that ever happen. Like so many people are so afraid to be in your shoes because they don't want to lose all their friends and they don't want lawyers coming after them. But the truth is, the friends you lose are shitty people who were unwilling to stand up for things that mattered. The lawyers were $250, letters they had written that have absolutely no intention of taking you to court at any point in time. And
No,
like, you're still here.
I am still here. And it's like, I think part of the reason why I didn't think it was especially brave for me was because I didn't have anything else left to lose. Like, I had already been kicked out. Like, what else are they going to do to me? Like, that cease and desist letter, like, it made me a little nervous for a little bit. I'm not going to lie, but like, it was so badly written in the first place. Like, and then in the letter, like, they admit everything that they did. So it's just like beyond stupid. Like, I don't even know if he paid for that. He probably just got some friend of his, like some Armenian guy, to like write this letter and be like, done. And like, that's how like little of a threat that Alberto like sees me as. Like, he didn't even bother to like pay for a proper lawyer to do this. He just like got like whoever like is in his Rolodex, and he's like, can you just do this thing for me? Like, none of it was handled well, like any of it. But the point is like, yeah, I lost a big community, but it's kind of a shitty community. Like, the community only works as long as you like fall in line with it, right? And the moment like you make any ripples, it's like, it's just tribalism. Like, people don't like change. People don't like when you challenge the status quo. People don't like when you challenge authority. It's fine, but like, I like I really do have a lot of like integrity, and that's like one of the things that I had to remind myself about when this happened. And because I could have gone away. Like, I have been, one of the funny things is that, this is like an aside, there was a huge Reddit thread, and there was this one girl in the thread who was like, yeah, I know Jasmine, she's a weirdo, and da-da-da, and she wrote this whole thing about like why everything I said was wrong. And the first thing she said was like, I've been training at Legacy for like a year. And I'm like, bitch, I spent 7 months of last year abroad. Okay. Like, I wasn't even here for like most of the year. And like, for the last year and a half, I've been traveling. Like, that blue belt that I cut up, I've taken it all around the world. It would have been really easy for me to just disappear. Like, really easy. I'd already spent like most of the time away from the gym. It wasn't really like for me that I did this. I really thought that like I was protecting the gym. Like, that's really what my whole thing was about. Because in my head, I was like, well, yeah, I could just walk away. I could just leave and just like let them do whatever. But in my head, I still think that like, even if like this is how the gym is going to be, at least everyone knows, right? Like, at least everyone knows, at least he cannot do this again.
I mean, and the thing that is so hard to watch is that at the end of all of these like scandals that come out between even the fight sports, we're talking about a literal child being raped, you see
Right.
people just kind of let it slide into the rear view mirror, and they keep training there again. And it's like, it doesn't matter how small the thing is you speak out about, you're going to be the one who gets canceled, you're going to be the one who gets blackballed. And even if it's the biggest thing in the world and everybody agrees with you that it was horrible, so many people fall back on this. It's not my drama. I didn't do it. The gym owner wasn't the perpetrator, and they sort of protect this system. And I love how much you talked about just this like accountability that needed to happen on all these different levels, all these people who should have done their part to call this out and put an end to it, because this is the issue, right? Like, people just having this short-term memory loss about like, oh, we're just training at the rape gym or the assault gym or the predator gym, and it's fine.
Right. Like, it's crazy to me that Cyborg still competes at ACC and IBJJF, and they highlight him like all the time, like as if he wasn't the one who covered up that whole thing. Like, that is crazy.
Even crazier than that, one of the organizers of ADCC was incredibly critical of him and calling it out the whole time, and then invited him back. And you're like, if the people who are speaking up for us are also protecting the predators, or just refusing to hold to their like their truth about it, and continue to hold them accountable when money's on the line or a job's on the line, it's like, this is just, I don't know. I got to a point where I was like, I need to train somewhere that is vocally dealing with these things in a way that I can see it. Like, if something happens at the gym, they call people out publicly, like, because there's really just nothing. It's either you're like the radical who deals with it, or you're the old school guy who covers it up.
Yeah, I know. I don't even know like what to say. It's just so disappointing, because I guess for me, like, it's funny, like, now that this happened, it seems like I'm seeing more things like in the similar vein. Like, I think Nicholas Marigali made some post about like Tammy, I'm gonna bungle the name, Musumeci, and like how she and Mikey, like they posted some article about how like she hates competing now, or because of the toxic atmosphere, and he was kind of like, look, like that's just how sports are, they're just assholes in sports. And then like I think like Kendall Rusing commented on it. She was like, yeah, well, you know, humans are humans no matter like what sport it is. And I'm sitting here going, okay, but like as someone who's like kind of loved martial arts like pretty much my whole life, one of the things that like really drew me to it was like the whole concept of like Bushido and like honor and the warriors code and like all that like stuff, right? And that's all like rooted in like Japanese history and everything. And obviously Brazilian jiu-jitsu has gone through Brazil and all like the bullshit that comes with Brazil. Not that I hate Brazil. Like I've been to Brazil. I've spent 2 months there. I've met lots of great Brazilians. It's a beautiful country, but like there's also lots of toxic Brazilian machismo. I don't know how to say words today. I'm sorry.
Not picky.
But anyway, it's like, I just feel like somehow like in Brazilian jiu-jitsu, black belt just doesn't mean any of that. Like black belt just means like you're good at jiu-jitsu and you've reached a certain skill level at jiu-jitsu. It doesn't mean that any of the other stuff. It doesn't mean that you're a good person. It doesn't mean that you're a community person. It doesn't mean that you have any kind of honor or integrity or anything. Like you don't have to do anything else but jiu-jitsu to get a jiu-jitsu black belt. You don't even have to teach. Like I've met jiu-jitsu black belts who have never taught a single class. And it's so like, I find that weird. Like there's no giving back aspect to becoming a black belt. And I don't know, to just like to compare it to other sports like soccer and, you know, basketball and whatever, and kind of the like weird toxic stuff that goes on in there. I just feel like martial arts should be better just because of what it is.
I think it's particularly difficult for women in jiu-jitsu. Like as bad as it is in terms of just like the bullying of each other and the sort of toxic culture, it's also just not necessarily a welcome place for women. Like even the gym that I was at before would always talk a lot of game about how like it's this one sport where women are equal, and I like it's just unreal how different the world is when a woman enters it. Like I hear a ton of stories about like, even in your case, like you spoke out about something bad was happening to you, probably specifically you as a woman because of being a woman. And then other women at the gym would gang up on the one who speaks out because they're so afraid of losing that like comfortable space as the accepted girls, that you know, if one of them starts acting like a real woman and like actually speaking out about these woman issues, we're just going to pretend like we're one of the guys and we're just going to like force her out.
Yeah, everyone wants to be part of the boys club. You know, it's funny, like a few days after I made that reel, Alberto posted like in his stories like this little clip of like the women's class, and just like he's like, look at all the women we have here, right? And all the women are like jumping up and bouncing around in the video, and I know a lot of these women, and I'm just like,
they all push the women's class as soon as they get caught mistreating women. They're like, we have tons of women here, what are you talking about? That one's the exception.
Obviously, yeah. Well, I mean, Rhett didn't go after any of those. I'm not even going to say that Rhett didn't go after these other women, because that's not even true. Like everyone that I spoke to about this before I got kicked out was like, oh yeah, he's made comments like that to me. He's not, I don't think he's put his mouth on anyone else, but like he has absolutely been inappropriate with probably most of, if not all of the women at the gym. Like,
and you said the shop next door too, right? I complained about
him
on one of your stories.
Yeah. So Alberto and Edith, his wife, they own Acai Jungle Cafe next door. So like that's their cafe, and a lot of us would go over there between or before or after class. And yeah, several of the women there complained. The day that I got kicked out, it was funny because I was sitting in like the sitting area and I was talking to one of the staff members and I was telling her about the situation, and she was like, oh yeah, he's done that to me too. And then one of the Acai Jungle girls came and sat down and she was listening. She's like, yeah, I don't like that guy either. And I'm just like,
So these are like the comments about pegging you or about saying things because he's horny or like any of these other type of things. These are the
So I don't think he said any of that to those women. I don't really know exactly what he said to those women. Like, I know that there's at least one other girl, at least one or two other girls he's made the pegging comments to, but I think he switches it up, depending on the person. I just know, like, I don't know exactly what he said to everyone, but he definitely makes inappropriate sexual comments, and it's just part of his personality.
yeah.
Yay.
I feel like that should be explicitly outlined as illegal in a gym space. And honestly, like that's one of the things I tell people to watch out for now that, because people are probably asking you at this point too, what should I watch out for in a gym to make sure I don't end up in the same situation as you? And it's like, if they don't have policies about the types of like treatment you can have between gym members, including dating, like coaches dating students and how you're like appropriate or inappropriate on the mat, what is acceptable, then it's probably a shit show. Like, and if an instructor's dating a student, it's almost definitely a shit show.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really think there was any of that going on that I know of. And there's a big poster on the wall about codes of conduct and this and that. But there's, do as I say, not as I do. Also,
yeah. Posted and enforced, I think. Like if you've never heard them say anything about the rules, those rules aren't real. They're just
no, I don't think anyone's ever made any announcements about any rules or anything. I think the last announcement I heard was something about don't wear spats with pockets to nogi. Like,
yeah,
nothing about code of conduct. But also, like, there's a thing where I kind of see like what the issue can be, because amongst like men, it's very normal to make these kinds of like sexual jokes, like in locker room talk, guys slapping each other's asses and like, making all kinds of raunchy jokes. And so it's like, then you go into like this male dominated club and they're like, well, why aren't you making the jokes with us, is kind of the thing. And it's like, but the thing is that like in this day and age, we all know that it's not okay. But then when someone does it, like Rhett, it's kind of like it just falls back onto this thing that they always do. And instead of them being like, hey, listen, we can't do this here, it just kind of insidiously like winds back to this kind of very male tradition. And then as a woman, you're like, well, I guess I have to like put up with it because this is how it is here,
Well, I do think that because of the fact that you spoke up more than one time about being uncomfortable with this, now you're in a situation where that the person who's like perpetrating this behavior knows that you're not comfortable and is doing it anyway. So it's not like an assumed joking thing where like we're all just bros. I'm pretty sure if one of your bros was like, yeah, you're making me super uncomfortable, you wouldn't continue to joke like we're friends in this way. So it's almost this like added layer of awkwardness because of like being a woman. They're like, what is the excuse there? We're just going to keep on pushing it through until you accept it. Like, you can only joke with somebody who's joking back. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely like to be fair, like he stopped more or less once like I made it clear. He tried to stop. Then when it was clear that he couldn't make himself stop, because like we had the conversation, he was like, okay, I'm sorry. Then he was good for like a week, and then he came back in and just started making all kinds of comments again. And I was like, you just can't leave me alone. And then that's when he like totally started being weird and like pretending like I didn't exist. Because like for him, he can't control himself around me. So it's either like
it has to be appropriate. So he
like he literally could not have a conversation with me and keep it strictly like polite. Like he couldn't. It was impossible for him not to make comments about my body. And that was why I had to bring it up, because it was like, when I brought it up the first time, I was like, people make mistakes, like shit happens, like whatever, like, I get it. Like it was a heat of the moment thing, maybe. Like I'm like trying to like rationalize it in my head and being like, maybe we just need to have the conversation and like move past it. Maybe he just thought like we were in some kind of weird relationship and we're not. So like I'm trying to like have this conversation to set a boundary and remind him like, hey, like, we're teammates, like you can't just be doing this stuff. And then like But when it became clear to me that he couldn't control himself around me and he literally had to pretend like I wasn't there in order to not be inappropriate, that's when I was like, I need to talk to the gym about this, because this is weird. Like, we
You can't
shouldn't
walk into the room without feeling awkward at that point. Like,
well, it was just like, how can you have someone there who can't control himself around women? Like, that was my thing. Like, Rhett can't control himself around people he's attracted to. And we can argue about whether he was attracted to me or not. I don't really give a fuck, but like, he can't control himself. So like, how is it safe for the gym to have somebody there that can't control themselves around women? And that was like my thing. And like, I was willing to let it go at a point, like even when I had the conversation and then like with Erica, and then like he blocked me, and then he sent me all these weird gaslighting text messages saying that like, oh, it wasn't sexual harassment because I wasn't, actually interested in you, which is fucking crazy. Like after all that, like I was about to leave for Thailand, and I'd spoken to Alberto, and I just said, look, like whether you kick him out or not, like something has to be done, right? And then I leave, and then like 2 weeks later, he's coaching competition class, and I'm like, so this is what was done? Like,
they're like, you can't tell me how to run my business.
I don't get it. Like, and then I come back and I speak to them, and they're like, well, he's on a short leash if he ever does. And I'm like, how is he on a short leash if he's coaching class?
They're just
like, my thing is like, he can't control himself around women. You should do something about it. And they're like, okay, we're going to have him coach competition class. Like,
yeah. Well, I can understand why you're not there anymore. Even if they hadn't kicked you out, I would have left. I want to get to some of these questions before we run out of time, because I did have a couple of people write in with questions for you. So
okay.
Let's see here. The first one, I'm not going to give names because I didn't ask for their permission, but she asked, do you think it would have been different if you'd said from the beginning that you weren't comfortable being in the same room as him? Then she put in parentheses, in her first series of videos, she said Erica asked her if she was comfortable being in the same room as him, and she said yes, she just didn't want to train with him.
Okay, so I don't really know how to answer this question, because during that conversation when Erica was like, are you okay with being in the same room with him? What I really felt like she was asking is, are you okay with staying at this gym or not? Mm-hmm. And like, I feel like she was trying to put a line in the sand and be like, well, can you be here or can you not be here with him? Because my whole thing was, at that moment, we had tried to set up a meeting. Rhett had blocked me, and then Rhett had sent me that huge message basically saying that it wasn't sexual harassment because, he wasn't attracted to me. And that was the point where I went to Erica and I was like, how can this be okay? And she's like, well, can you be in the room with him or not? And I'm like, I don't know how to respond to this. So like, I don't know how it would have gone different if I'd said, no, I can't be in the room with him, because like, I don't know what she would have done, because she clearly wasn't like taking it seriously. She didn't think it was a problem that he was gaslighting me and trying to say that it wasn't sexual harassment. So like, I honestly have no idea how to answer that question. The whole thing was so just like convoluted and messy in my head that I don't know what she would have done or how it would have gone.
Yeah,
because like the thing is that I keep coming back to is it shouldn't have been up to me whether or not he should have stayed. It should have just been the gym should have just looked at that and been like, that's fucking crazy. We need to have a talk with this guy and educate him on sexual harassment. And if that's not possible, he's got to go. So like, I don't know that it would have changed anything, because that didn't happen.
At a minimum, a suspension or something.
Yeah, like, I don't know, like the fact that it had to be on me is what's just weird about it.
Word. Okay, somebody wants to know what you think about how Gordon Ryan epitomizes the toxic BJJ bro.
Oh my God. You're gonna ask me to talk about Gordon Ryan? It's funny because I think there's a few people that followed me because I went to a WNO event where Gordon was supposed to fight Felipe Pena, and he pulled out of the event because of his tummy issues. And I know. And he made a post about it saying that he wasn't coming, but then in the comments he was like, no, he was saying he's gonna pull out of the event, but in the comments he was like, but I'm still gonna come, and like, see the fans, right? And I was like, oh, so he's still gonna come. I go to this event, he is like not there, and he's on Instagram, like apparently it turned out he was there like hiding, and then like he like left as soon as like I think Giancarlo was done with his match, or one of the guys. And on the entire time during the event, he's just on the couch in his Airbnb on Instagram, just talking shit about everybody, like just talking shit about every single match. And I'm like, well, this is kind of like, well, you aren't even there, and you're talking about shit about athletes who like are there. And I'm thinking in my head, well, he's sick. Then like Mo Jassim goes that very night and he does a live and he goes, yeah, Gordon and I are leaving for Abu Dhabi tomorrow. And I'm like, so let me fucking get this straight. You are too sick to come to the thing to see the people that bought tickets to come see you, but you can get on a fucking plane and go to Abu Dhabi the next day. So I like commented on one of his posts and I like said as much. And then he like responded to me. He was like, do I owe you something? And then I had like a bunch of bros like attacking me and being like,
little fanboys get so upset when you come.
They do, and it was kind of funny. They were like, "You're a blue belt. You don't have a right to say anything." And I'm like, "What are you talking about? Like, I wasn't talking about his technique.
Out psychopath. What are we even talking about?"
Yeah, like I wasn't saying anything about his technique. I was just saying that like maybe you should have come to the event that you said you were going to come to. Like, I can't speak to Gordon Ryan's whole career and how he treats his fans and all that. Like, I know he has a good history and all that, but like, I look at like Craig Jones and how he interacts and how like he's actually funny, and even in his humor, he makes kind of like little digs about like kind of like the sexual harassment and the toxic stuff, like little bits here and there. He made like some post that was hilarious recently about like the thing that like BJJ black belts fear the most, and one was like Chris Hansen and the other one was like I forget the name of the organization, but the one that like regulates like the use of steroids. And like, so he made this post and it was like, it's hilarious, but like he calls out shit like this very subtly. But my point is that like he engages with humor and like and entertainment and like kind of genuinely valuable content, and Gordon Ryan just talks shit about everybody. And like I just look at the two, and yeah, like Gordon's better at jiu-jitsu, but like it says a lot about someone's personality where the only way that they can engage people and get people to talk about them is to talk shit about everybody. Right. And then this whole thing with like Nikki Ryan and the whole split and the weird shit with Sunny.
There's a whole other world that I can't wait till it all comes out so we can get into it, but I don't have the authority to say anything on that.
Well, I have one thing I can say. I have a friend who trains in Austin, and he uses the same car detailer that Gordon Ryan uses. And he told me when this whole thing came out, he told me that he asked the guy who does the detailing about this, and he was like, that explains everything. Because basically Sonny, every time he would come over, Sonny would like hit on him and he would freak out because he'd be like, oh my God, it's Gordon Ryan's girl. But then Gordon would come up and be like, so you think she's hot?
And I'm going to let listeners look up all of these rumors so that I don't have to repeat them and get a stupid, annoying fake cease and desist from any of these idiots.
But it's like, it's weird because like also he had to let that guy go. Like he can't afford his car detailer right now that my friend can afford to pay for.
Well,
so like
amazing. I loved
Gordon's not doing too well financially, it sounds like. There's more that I like can't personally comment on, but these are things that I do know, just me being in my tiny little corner who happens to know people who know him.
So the most asked question I've gotten is, are you still training? Was it hard to find a new gym?
So I am still training. I did need to take a break just because I needed time to process everything. I needed space. I was dealing with a lot of, just being bombarded with comments and messages and whatever, just dealing with the fallout. So I needed some time. But I did end up finding a gym in North Hollywood. It's called Ace High Jiu-Jitsu. The owner actually reached out to me when this whole thing happened, and he invited me to train like quite a few times. Like he checked up on me regularly, and I really appreciated that. So I ended up signing up at his gym just partially because of the convenience of the class schedules, but also I do love the variety in that like I can train gi, no gi, advanced fundamentals, like, and I don't have to like go to 20 different like class times in order to get all that variety in, which is one of the things that I've struggled with at other gyms where like I enjoy gi and no gi equally, but at Legacy I rarely got to train no gi just because the class times were never convenient. So one of the cool things about A-side is that like you can go at the same time and you'll get a different type of class. So so I signed up there. There's also a gym. I visit Florida very frequently because my mom lives there and she is not doing very well, like health wise. So I go and I usually spend like a month at a time there. And there's a gym there called Red Panda. I've been training there since before this happened, but they were also like super supportive and nice. They're a small, like very tight knit, like community gym in Titusville, Florida. So those are the two places that I train.
Right. I used to live in Cocoa Beach, so that's
just really? Yeah. So it's very close to there. Yeah.
Hilarious. Okay, well, I'm gonna ask you one more question because I said I was done, but this is simple yes, no that I got. Are we gonna see any jujitsu content in any of your books?
So there is like one or two grappling scenes in the series that I just finished. Where is anything that I own? I don't even know. I don't even think I have a copy of the first book with me. No, there's the second book. I have this with me. So I just finished the series. The first book's called Promise and Fire. This one's called Forged in Frost. Caged in Shadow just came out. It's a fantasy series. There's like a big romance subplot. So it's like a fantasy romance, but it's super big on like the action and adventure and the magic. And it's about it's about a war between like dragons and fairies and two like people who hate each other but love each other and they have to save the world. And they have at least 2 grappling scenes between them that were fun to write. And I'll probably sneak in some more in the new series I'm working on. But yeah, that wasn't really a yes or no answer, but yeah.
That's okay. I'll take it. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Let people know where they can follow you if they haven't followed you yet.
Sure. Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at jasmine.walt. Facebook, same thing, Jasmine Walt. I have a website, www.jasminewalt.com. That's pretty much it. Yeah. TikTok, I think same thing.
Awesome. Thank you again so much for coming on.